So, President Trump has appointed John Bolton, Fox News contributor, to be the new national security advisor. Now, a little background on John Bolton for those of you who don't know. He is a complete crazy person. He is a neocon who has never met a war he didn't like. He lied us into the Iraq war. He was actually instrumental in lying us into the Iraq war. He's said that first strike on North Korea would be the only solution, so he's against diplomatic talks with them. And he's also one of the cheerleaders for the war in Iran. So he was on Fox Business News, and during an interview shortly after the news of his position broke. And let's see what he had to say in response to a tweet sent out by Senator Bernie Sanders.
Breaking news tonight. President Trump announcing another big staff change. In a tweet this evening, he said, quote, "I am pleased to announce that effective 4/9/18, Ambassador John Bolton will be my new national security advisor. I'm very thankful for the service of General H.R. McMaster, who has done an outstanding job and will always remain my friend. There will be an official contact handover on 4/9. I'm Tom Shalhoub in for Kennedy. And with me now, yes, incoming White House National Security Advisor, John Bolton. Ambassador Bolton, welcome to the show.
Glad to be with you. It's not red eye, but I'm glad to be here.
Hey, just thanks for not canceling. Thank you, sir. Listen, big news, obviously. I'm going to read you a headline here and get a reaction because the reactions are happening as we speak. Vox says, John Bolton, Trump's ultra-hawkish new national security advisor, explained. And they say, Bolton has recently called for war with both Iran and North Korea. Would you say that's accurate?
Of course it's not accurate, but it's what I'd expect from Vox.
Very simple. Well, look, you recently wrote an editorial for the Wall Street Journal, right? You said some sort of strike is likely unavoidable unless China agrees to regime change in Pyongyang. That's right? So you would describe yourself as a hawk on North Korea, correct?
Well, let me just say, in the roughly hour and a half I've had to digest the news getting out about this, I've had to think about what to do about everything that I've said in my public career before now, the op-eds, the books, the speeches, the interviews, and so on. And as I'm sure your researchers have made clear to you, you probably have a list of questions that could go on for some time. I honestly think it's not appropriate for me to talk about that vast body of my commentary because it's out there. People can read it. They can draw their or listen to it if it's a broadcast. They can draw their own conclusions from it. But my job when I get the job on April the 9th, as the president has just told me, then my advice needs to be private to him unless he wants to let it go public. So kind of my commenting on the things I've said before, I think is not fair to the president, and so I want to avoid commenting on it. But I'd welcome your continued reading from my collected works. I can't object to that.
Well, I'll keep reading. I'll read in private, and I'll read after the show as well. Let me get some immediate reaction. This is from Senator Bernie Sanders. John Bolton was part of the effort to mislead the U.S. into the disastrous Iraq war and has supported military action against North Korea and Iran. He was too extreme to be confirmed as UN ambassador in 2005 and is absolutely the wrong person to be national security advisor now. Does that reaction surprise you?
Well, I'm gratified by Senator Sanders' endorsement. I welcome it. Let me just say, with respect to being confirmed, of course, the Democrats resorted to a filibuster in 2005, and in the effort to break the filibuster, there were 57 votes in favor of my nomination. Under today's circumstances, of course, with the filibuster for executive branch and judicial nominees eliminated, I would have been confirmed. So, Senator Sanders, I'm sorry you don't get a shot at me this time, but maybe next time.
Yeah, because this position...
That was interesting, especially because what Bernie Sanders said. John Bolton was part of the effort to mislead the U.S. into a disastrous Iraq war and has supported military action against North Korea and Iran. he was too extreme to be confirmed as the UN ambassador in 2005 and is absolutely the wrong person to be national security advisor now. So, yeah, I think that's a fair statement. Now, what happened in 2005 is John Bolton was nominated by George W. Bush to serve as the UN ambassador, which is a confirmation position, meaning that the Senate has to confirm you. And we've seen lots of drama unfold recently while Trump appointees have gone through confirmation processes. And they're like, no, not John Bolton. Anybody but John fucking Bolton. This guy, like Bernie Sanders says, he was instrumental into lying us into the war in Iraq. He is a hawk on North Korea. I love how when he's like, so you are not a hawk on North Korea and Iran. Oh, no, Vox News. They're so stupid. And I'd expect something like that from them. Then goes on to completely dodge the question. Like, whoa. So, are you a hawk on North Korea? Well, you know, the thing that's important is that my public comments in the past have nothing to do, or, you know, they shouldn't be taken that seriously now that I am being transitioned into this more important role as national security advisor. What? Okay, so wait, you're saying your public statements can't be taken into account. You've been a public servant since the Reagan administration. He served as the assistant attorney general, the assistant attorney general under Ronald Reagan. And then worked for the Bush administration and has been a regular on Fox News pushing pro-war propaganda since 2008 when he was signed on as a contributor. And now we all know Donald Trump only watches and gets his information from cable news, which is why he just, appointed Larry Kudlow, the CNBC host, who said right before the economic crash of 2008 that the hysteria surrounding the stock market bubble is just a made-up way of liberals scaring people, and that the housing crash was not going to be something that would come to fruition. And 2 years later, in 2008, boom, stock market crashed because of the subprime mortgage crisis. Now, back to our friend John Bolton. He said you can't take everything he's ever said into account because he's now being thrust into this new position. He wrote policy papers for the Trump administration on like a step-by-step instruction op-ed or, dossier or whatever you want to call it, on how to get Iran out of the nuclear deal and then proceed to basically enact regime change. And I love it how he also says in other interviews, which I will show in a separate video, he goes on to defend the war in Iraq, saying if we didn't topple Saddam Hussein, it would have been worse. And you can't say that just because Saddam died and then Iraq went to shit, it was just because of that. That's a myopic view of this, very complex and intertwined situation in the Middle East. Like, no, the fuck it's not. He is a constant pusher of the narrative that North Korea is funding the Syrian rebels. What? North Korea is funding, not even the Syrian rebels, but the Bashar al-Assad government in cohorts with Iran. And we do know that Iran has some involvement in Syria, but North Korea? Unlikely. Now, he also is of the idea that Iran helped North Korea make their missile program, their nuclear missile program, even though Iran doesn't have one and never did. And the JCPOA, the Joint Plan of Action, what does it stand for exactly? I can't remember off the top of my head. But the Iran deal. You hear Trump say, it's a terrible deal. It's the worst deal we've ever had. No, it literally stopped Iran from making nuclear weapons. That's literally what the Iran deal did. We said, okay, Iran, you have to give us your or you have to give us access to your facilities. We're gonna send in UN inspectors every month to all of these facilities to make sure that you're keeping up with our regulations. You are able to keep uranium, but only uranium enriched to such a small amount that its only practical use would be for scientific research or for powering centrifuges, which are vitally important to any kind of country that runs on nuclear power. Well, you want them to just shut off their entire power grid? And then every 90 days, the United States president has to recertify that deal. And Trump has, grinded his teeth every time he's had to do so. And now there's reports coming from some White House sources saying that indeed in May, we will withdraw from the JCPOA or the Iran deal. And this would be disastrous. I won't waste your time now talking about that because that's for another video as well. But yeah, this is our new our new national security advisor, a TV show host, a neocon, a war hawk, a Zionist, and an all-around shitty person, even in his personal life. I don't really know the details of too many stories, but apparently he's accosted many co-workers or people he disagrees with. I think I heard reports of him harassing a woman online or in a hotel room in either Russia. I think it was in Russia, to the point where she had to lock herself in the room because this dude was just batshit crazy. But I guess batshit fits right into the mold of the Trump administration.